Lovely. So welcome to day 2 of the Powerful Presenter. Last night I was talking to Nick. We went for a little drive and in this beautiful countryside, in this beautiful weather. We were chatting along and the kids were playing in the back, which was really nice for a change that they were getting on. Nick and I had 5 minutes to actually converse. And I was asking him the questions that I was asking you yesterday. So I said, what would your 7-minute talk be? And that was 2 big questions. So I said, okay, what would your 1 minute, what would your 1 minute message to humanity be? And I think, we've had sort of questions like this before, but because we have children, we've never got to the end of the conversation. So we had this time and he was like, oh, that's so good. Like, oh, what would it be? And he started reflecting on some of his biggest learnings in life. And it was just in this conversation that we started to realise, I said, this is so fascinating because I'm learning, even in just this few minutes, I'm learning things about you that even after 10 years of marriage, this is your sort of deep window into your soul. But it was really, because I know Nick's story. For some of you, you might not know his story, but I know Nick's story. I know what he grew up with and had to deal with and had to overcome. But what was fascinating was what he learned from it was very different to what I thought he would have learned from it. So it just goes to show that all of these learnings that we've got through life, because you can't go through life without learning something, right? You've got all of these special learnings. What I thought he was going to say was completely different. And he was talking about this internal nudge. I don't know if you had an internal nudge before, but he said in all the darkest moments, he really felt this pull. And even though on his first kind of big seminar that was going to, teach him how to change his life, he turned the car around several times on his way there. And he said each time he turned the car around, there was just this sense of like it wouldn't let him not do it. And he just felt the nudge. He was like, I know there's some, I know I'm supposed to be doing this, even though I'm terrified. And there was a real sense of, if I don't do it, nothing will change. Like if I don't do something, nothing will change. And one of the ways, and I said that's amazing, because one of the ways that I motivate myself to do things is often by saying, and then I think, well, if I don't do it, nothing is going to change. But if I do it, everything might, or at least something. And so he was talking about this internal nudge, which I didn't know as that was part of his story. So for him, and I said, well, how would you turn that into a learning, into a talk? And he said, well, I think everybody's got one, but we don't necessarily hear it and we don't necessarily listen to it. He said, my talk would be about tuning into a time where you did feel it, and to his call to action would be around listening for that nudge. It's there, it's telling you where you should be, where you want to be, and not letting fear get in the way. And by the end of it was only a few minutes, but he said, God, this is really helping me to really find the essence of why I do what I do, to really distill it and find that essence. So I encourage you, if you're coaches and you're running a business, or you're even at work, really focusing in on that question of what is your 1 minute message to the world that you could technically expand to a 7-minute talk. What is that message? Because I guarantee that is going to be your USP, right? It's going to be how you enter all situations with that essence about you. And for any of you that you think, oh, I don't have anything to offer in terms of speaking and, getting paid to speak and things like that, I promise you do. Because just that 5-minute conversation with you can probably find that essence. I guarantee it. And lots of people could say the same learning, but unless it's in your voice, with your experience, people wouldn't relate to it. So I really do believe that whatever you've come up with so far, keep going, and we'll formulate it today, and we'll get that message, if that's the one you're curating today, but we'll get that message a little bit more honed. Now, for any of you that think, I really want to speak. I really want to, be able to speak so I can sell my coaching services, or I want to speak so that I can be an ambassador at work or for a charity or whatever it might be. If you're not sure and you're having that doubt and you're thinking, I don't know if I could do it, could you please just book a free call with me? Right? That's my request to you, is to book a free call with me and we will talk about it. We will go through it. And by the end of, if with my husband, I could get him to his essence like in 5 minutes, I guarantee after 45 minutes we'll have absolutely nailed what your essence is, that you can then take back into your business, your work, your passions, and I can encourage you that you do have what it takes to become a professional presenter, professional speaker, trainer, whatever it is that you want to do. You could, if there's I was speaking to somebody the other day who'd created a network for their industry. I think, Rosina, you're part of a network as well, aren't you? That's something that is really helpful for people. So start a network in your industry. And then you have a platform to speak on whenever you choose, but you also then have, other speakers that you could bring in and learn from and so on. Once you become important in your organization because you're affecting more lives, you're running the network, it's going to be easier to stand out. It's going to be easier to get promoted. It's going to be easier to maintain a job when, if you're looking at restructuring and things like that. The person who's running the network, who's an ambassador for the organisation, or who's doing the panels, it's going to be much harder to make that decision to let that person go who's doing all these other things. But you're practicing for your own benefit and you're learning those skills while you're at work. If you go to a networking event, which I think is great, it's a really slow way to build business unless you're the speaker. Yeah. So doing networking events, but as the speaker, I thoroughly recommend. And running workshops, running, little sessions is an absolutely, the perfect way to let people know who you are and allow people to see what you do. And you don't ever have to worry that we're giving away stuff for free, right? You just don't have to worry about it, because even if you gave away 90% of your amazing stuff for free, somebody's always going to want you to help them personally to do it. So even if you say, look, I'm going to show you everything. Like those plumbers on Instagram that I like watching when they change the bathroom, where they talk you through everything they're doing. I'm still not going to do it myself. Yeah, they can teach me everything. I'd still rather they do it for me. So there's always going to be people that want your personalised help. All right, any questions on, because I really want to just convince you that you all have something just amazing, that I want you to go out there and speak to the whole world and show people how to do it. Any questions? Oh, can't see the chat. Hold on.
Hi, Jess.
Hi.
I want to share that yesterday after the session, I had to leave half an hour earlier. Something came up. Anyway, I was invited to a women's gathering. It was the birthday of a friend, and it was quite late by the time we had, I had finished with the session, with the presentation, with this meeting, and I was doubting whether I should go. Is there enough time? I'm late, and so on and so forth. So I was having this back and forth, So eventually something nudged me, something pushed me to go. Like I was thinking, just go. So I was 2 hours late. I got there, and to my surprise, she was waiting for me because she wanted me to talk to the ladies.
Oh, wow.
She didn't tell me. Like I had no idea. And so when I got there, she's like, here she is, and she does this and that, and we want to hear from her. So she was actually launching a women's empowerment group. And she wanted me to share my experience with what I do and being intentional and mental and emotional well-being and so on and so forth. And I was like, oh my God.
I love it. What would have happened had she told you in advance that she wanted you to talk to them?
So probably I would have prepared and be more sure that, I wanted to go and planned to be there on time. Now, because I had this course with you, I had, made up my mind that I might not finish on time, I won't be going, right? So, but I knew that I'm gonna be late, so I don't want to get there late. But something was nudging me that just show up. I mean, it's her birthday. Just show up for half an hour, explain what happened, and then leave. And so I had to, right at that moment, the whole day's information was like on.
Yeah,
And I somehow followed, your instructions. What message does she want me to deliver? Why do I do what I do? And, at the end, just a call to action for them,
brilliant.
takeaway. So yeah, maybe that was the shift you're talking about. That's the
Yeah,
magic that happened with me, probably, but
I
it
love it.
was something.
That's a really good test. If you can be put on the spot like that and then still access the information and go, okay, right, remember to ask for the outcome. What is it I'm trying to do? Okay. Once you can know the outcome, everything is so much easier because it's again that massive amounts of what I could say, which if you've got lots of information is vast, it suddenly boils down to, oh, okay, you want them just to feel empowered. Okay, cool. Right, that's a smaller subsection of what I could do. How long have I got? Yeah,
Yeah. Well, I
amazing, amazing.
decided for myself that it's not gonna be more than 7 minutes. I think it was even less than that. So, yeah, it's like because probably I had just gotten out fresh from the session, so
Yeah,
everything was right there.
I love it. Well,
Yeah,
there
just
you go.
felt
There's,
like
there's, there's definitely again we've got the nudge, got the little kind of just go, and
yeah.
yeah, and that's part of the hero's journey actually with the storytelling. The hero's journey. We won't have time to go into the full hero's journey today, but the hero's journey itself is a beautiful storytelling process. And it always starts with, everyday life and then being called to adventure. So there's something that happens that kind of nudges you to have to go on some sort of quest. And most people refuse the call to adventure to begin with because they're too scared or because they don't recognize it as being important. And the call to adventure always comes back. So the 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 greatest thing about the hero's journey is that you don't have to worry too much that you're going to miss the nudge, that you're going to miss the call because the call will come again until you go on it because it's your quest, it's your thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the sooner that you can listen for the nudge, the better because
Yeah.
then, yeah. And if you've got the tools as well, that makes it so much easier. So I'm really excited to find out what happens with the group. Were they really responsive? I imagine they were.
Yeah, they were. They were so interested, and apparently she wants to collaborate with me, and it's an NGO, and she would like me, to join her in some of her activities and her projects. And I met quite a few influential women, amazing lawyers and presenters and accountants, and oof, like so much power was in that room. It was amazing.
So this for me is really the reason. So there was a lot of powerful women, let's say, in that room, and the one with the most authority in that moment was the one talking.
Yes.
And that is just, going to networking events and being one of the participants is amazing. But
Yeah.
being the speaker, everybody leaves knowing who you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that is from if you're short on time, like I am, I don't have time to go to networking events and speak to three people. I don't have time for that. It's just as much as I'd love to, and those three people might be best friends for life. I
Yeah.
it's just not time efficient. So being
Yeah.
the speaker is the most
No,
efficient way.
it was crazy because I even went with my jeans and a tank top because I looked at the invitation card and it says dress code BU. And I'm like,
Yeah,
okay, then I don't really need to spend time on wearing my full,
love
you
it.
know.
Yeah,
So I just it just was so bizarre to happen.
I would have like shown up in my pajamas. So I think they might want to caveat that with like, but a better version of you. Be you on your
Yeah.
semi-best day. Lovely. Ahmed, have you got a question, my love?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can hear you,
Yeah,
yeah.
is there a sort of target when you're designing a presentation around how you're gonna feel and how you're gonna experience the whole thing? And that's the first question. And also just I didn't catch what you said about where Nick was going when he was turning around. I was just curious where he was headed that
Oh,
day.
okay. So a two-part question. So the first part is yes, you should absolutely think about how you want to experience the whatever it might be, the presentation or the speech and so on. And that's where we would do from an NLP point of view, we would do the goal in timeline. So we would visually, mentally rehearse it going well and feeling how we want to feel during that process, which is then also useful because when you visualize it and you imagine it, there are already nerves that you're feeling like, oh, a bit nervous. You can do it ahead of time and use one of the NLP techniques to reduce those nerves. So on the Banish the Fear session that I did, the recording, which is in the app, you'll get the links to all of this. The process that I recommended was collapsing anchors because it's probably the kind of easiest one size fits all approach that's super easy to learn. And by just repeatedly reducing all of the nerves around each presentation that you go and do, eventually you just have this sort of rock solid confidence and just never get nervous. If you have a phobia or a deep pattern around, I think obviously on that session we were talking about letting people down and more kind of general identity level issues that they might need a little bit more work. It's all doable. It's absolutely all doable. And for me, it's a bit like one of those things like parenting and relationships. But public speaking is another road to healing, right? So, Amit, you get to decide how you want to show up and then how you want to feel. And then it's more about stripping away any of the nerves and things that would get in the way than it is about trying to achieve something, if you see what I mean. Being you can do already. We just need to get the nerves out of the way that prevent you doing that in front of other people. Yeah.
Yeah, like I think specifically the thing I want to nail is the whole I think you mentioned it yesterday around investor pitching where the stakes are high. And
Yeah.
it's almost like you don't design those things, well, not by default anyway, around how you want to feel. You're designing it around some sort of achievement, outcome. It's too
Yeah.
material. What you're after is like way too material to feel connected to it because it's like it's a gamble sort of thing. And I think I don't know what levels of autopilot I have around that type of sentiment around whether a material outcome will actually materialize. I'd never worry about connectedness with people. But I do worry about like outcomes.
Yeah. Well, let me caveat that. So, because I've still got the second part of the other question to answer. So this question I think is really important. Imagine if you're running your own business and you've poured your life and your life savings into a business, and then you're standing in front of investors waiting for them to decide whether they want to work with you or not. I would say at that point, feeling is way more important than logic because having coached an inordinate number of entrepreneurs and founders of companies who have done exactly that and who have taken on business partners, I can tell you that your life is miserable if you have an investor, if you have a partner in your business who you do not like. And it doesn't matter how rich you get, the company itself is in massive jeopardy if you can't get on. And why do it if you're going to be miserable? So making decisions like, oh, they're going to give me the most amount of money or they're going to give me the most amount of freedom of choice, whatever. I would say when you're standing in front of those people and they're offering you money, you want to be so relaxed that you can feel the warning sign that says, no, not them. No, that's going to be bad for me. And you want to feel, no, I feel like connected with that person. That's who's going to be able to nurture me and this company and so on. So I'm a big believer that alignment is better than the outcome. And so deciding how you want to feel longer term and then moving in the direction that's going to give you more of that, rather than making these logical decisions about pure outcome. I think that would make sense. And to answer the second part of the question, he was on his way to I think the first UPW, although it was some similar type of thing. It wasn't UPW, it was a similar event. And the guy that was sold him the ticket was the same guy that knew me, and from when I bought a ticket for UPW from him years before, and we'd had kind of lots of conversations because I sent him loads of people. And so Nick asked Mo, his name was, he asked him after the event, could you recommend any coaches? Now, Mo is supposed to recommend, obviously, the coaches from the event. And he said, well, I do know somebody who you would actually really like. And he gave Nick my number. And that's how we met. So the nudge is not just a nudge, right? That's, your whole life can change.
That's a miracle. Yeah, I love that.
So if he hadn't have gone to that, I do hope that he would have come something else. Maybe he would have, he would have met me another way. But yeah, that's how we met. So yeah. Lovely. Jay, what's your question?
Thanks. Not so much a question, Jess, but just responding to what Amin was saying about feelings. And one of the things that I've had to learn is, or have learnt, should I say, is instincts, listening to what your gut is telling you and really just tuning in. To your point, Jess, is that the right decision? Are they the right people? That's just life, isn't it? We have to make those decisions, but our gut is a really great indicator. And it's always, this is my lesson. My gut has never steered me wrong.
Yes.
Believe it or not. So just thought I'd share.
Thank you. Because I think that's, because we talk so much about logic and it's just not. It's emotional, isn't it? We absolutely make those emotional decisions. Good. Lovely. So we will be starting today with a game of Blockbuster. So how many of you remember the game Blockbuster from moons ago when we were all but whippersnappers? No? Okay, I'll have to explain it. All right. But we're going to play a game of Blockbuster as a recap of what we kind of covered yesterday. There might be a few surprise questions. Can you all see the board? Is it big enough?
Yeah.
Lovely. Okay. All right. So we're going to have to put you into, I think, 2 teams somehow. Jay and John can answer the first question. Okay. What is 13 times 13?
Sorry. Just
56.
How many?
56.
13 times 13. Let's do an easier one.
isn't it
78.
169?
Yes,
69.
lovely. Hey, John, what colour would you like to be on the board? Would you like to be green or orange?
Oh, definitely green because it's shorter.
Oh no, that's not the way it's going to work, John. Don't worry. All right. So I'm going to ask the first question. Anybody can yell out. All right. So, John, you got that question right. So, could you choose the first square that you want, or the first hexagon?
We'll go VA.
VA. All right. So we're playing for VA. All right. So, what VA is used to help the audience to see what you mean or provide something interesting for your audience to look at?
Visual equipment.
Blade.
Visual
Who
aids.
said visual aids? Karen, you're in green. Lovely, well done. And for a bonus point, can you name 2 types of visual aids?
Projector and whiteboard.
I was going to say, this question was fine. You got help, but this question was for Karen.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, for me, okay. So I would have said slides and body language.
Great. Get a bonus.
I defer.
Lovely. All right. So choose the next square, Karen.
I.
All right. So everyone now is playing for I. You can shout out. All right. What I describes the creative thoughts that you have when preparing your presentation, particularly for what's included in it.
Imagination.
Ideas.
Oh, who said ideas? Rosina, I did hear. And Rosina, you're in the orange team. Is that right?
No, green.
Karen, well, you were definitely in the green team as well. I didn't get that one wrong, no.
Yeah, I am. Green.
Agreed to doing very well. Right, so Zena, what square would you like? What hexagon?
B, please, Jess.
A C or a B?
C.
Yes. All right.
Is Rosina getting a bonus question?
Oh, sorry. Rules there, John.
Please give me some help.
How many points? Good, thank you, John. Rosina, how many points should you try to make in your presentation?
3.
Brilliant. Very good. And which square would you like? We've got C. Right. Ready? Everybody can answer. What C describes the way you feel about presenting when you know you'll do a good job of it?
Confident.
Oh, there's that Karen again.
Oh, sorry.
Just kept everybody's microphones working. It's gonna be a landslide. Okay, C. So, bonus questions. Name 3 characteristics of a great presentation, Karen.
Wow. Entertaining, engaging. It's not entertaining, it's engaging. Informative.
Yeah.
I can't.
Manifesto. Remember what you did first thing yesterday.
Authentic.
Yeah. Come on.
Oh, that was my 3. Authentic, informative, and engaging.
Ah, brilliant. Perfect. There you go. Well done. Which hexagon next?
F.
F. What F describes a visual aid which allows you to use large sheets of paper to illustrate your ideas as you go through your
Flip
presentation?
chart.
Ilona, is that you? Are you orange?
Orange, yeah.
Yeah, get in there. Your bonus questions are: what 2 things should you not do when using a flip chart?
Turning my back to the audience. Writing in small letters.
Yes. Very good. Very good. All right. What hexagon would you like?
TTT.
All right. Everybody can answer. What TTT is an acronym for the rule of thumb that uses repetition to help
Tell.
Tell.
Was that you, Wendy? I think you're no, Rosina, was that you?
It was me.
Claiming it. She's claiming it. And you are green.
Green.
So you've won the first round. Hey, Greens. But we're also now going to do all the other questions because I wrote them. So we're going to do the rest.
Yes, I'm just trying to remember. Wasn't it then dun 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 or something like that? The tune. Once you got all of them, it was something like that, wasn't it?
You'll have to find the tune on YouTube or something. Yeah, I think they should bring it back.
By the time we've told them everything, that's all their homework will be tonight. We'll find old episodes.
Oh, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. So your bonus question, Rosina, was name the main senses that your presentation should appeal to.
Sorry, what was it?
The main senses that your presentation should appeal to.
Sighting, and gosh, I can vision. It's auditory and visually a kinesthetic sense. Auditory, visually. Thank you. Orange, yes, orange. One on the board. Got that.
That was Rosina's bonus questions.
Oh no, that's an own goal.
But she's on your team, luckily, so don't worry. All right, so Rosina, choose another square for another. No, well, let's call them squares.
We go for D. Start up in the corner.
Brilliant. So everyone can
go all the way
answer.
unbroken again.
So we're now going for the amount of, the total amount of hexagons. What D describes the way you transfer your presentation across to your audience. Who said delivery?
Jay.
Jay.
Dino.
Fantastic. All right. So you are orange, in fact, aren't you? And your bonus question: can you remember, or give 3 main points that you need to remember or consider when creating a presentation? Any 3?
The why, the how, the what if.
Yeah, good. Fabulous. All right. So, what would you like now?
I'll take an A, please.
Okay, so play for A. What A describes the people who will be attending your presentation?
Audience.
Yay, that was very fast. She's on it.
Okay, looks like I've woken up a little bit now.
Yeah, the competitiveness. What do you need? So, bonus question: what do you need to know about your audience before you put together your presentation? Give me 3 things.
What they might be looking for, what's in it for them, and any outcomes.
Lovely. Yeah, problem and pursuit is another easy way to remember that. Lovely. Oh, another square on the board.
I have an S, please.
All right, playing for S. Everyone can answer. What S describes how your presentation should be organised?
Structured.
Specific.
She's on it. She's on it. She's tuned in. Okay. What's the name of that structure that we looked at yesterday?
So
Framework.
it's all the questions. I think I mentioned some of them. The
Oh,
why, the
format.
what,
Bernie.
the
Format
how.
model. Format model.
Yes.
Yes, you can have that, Jay. With
Thanks.
using the power of what's it called?
She's on my
Growing
team.
your voice.
Teamwork.
Yeah.
Teamwork.
She's on my
I'm
team.
helping her.
Exactly.
Yes.
I'll do. All right, next square.
R, please.
All right, everyone can answer. What R is a way of ensuring your audience hears or sees something multiple times?
Repeat,
Repetition.
repeat.
Repetition.
Repetition, repeat, 3 times. Table sum 3, table sum 3. Good.
Well, I don't want to say that it was Jay again, but I do think it was. I think she knows it. Oh dear. Okay. Right. So repetition. What does Braille stand for? BRALE, the acronym that we looked at yesterday.
Something language.
This is these are Jay's bonus questions, but yes, you can answer them.
Yes.
Begin.
Yeah, I can't remember it. I can see it in I can see the BRAL as it's written. I can't see the words.
Beginning. What was the other one, everyone?
Oh gosh.
Repeat.
Accentuation.
Begin, repeat, repeat, repeat.
Yeah.
Yes. And there's
Accentuation.
beginning, ending,
Ending.
repeat,
Ideas,
accentuation,
illustration,
Linked.
and linked.
Oh,
Yeah,
link.
and end. Very good. Okay.
Thank you,
Another
team.
square on the board.
I'll take a PP, please.
All right, so we're playing for PP. Name a computer program which is used to help
PowerPoint
you.
presenter.
A computer program. Jay, you're
PowerPoint.
frozen out now. You're frozen out now, Jay. We all have a chance.
Point.
Ilona, are you orange?
Orange, yeah.
There we go. And your bonus question. Name the Apple version of PowerPoint.
not pages. My gosh.
Can we have
Slides.
Slides. Can we say slides?
Slides.
Google slide.
Maybe you got Mac.
I think
Oh, this is the thing I-
Google's.
So it's Keynote.
Keynote. Yeah.
Ah.
And it's I really, really like it. I think it's a really good system. So what square would you like next, Ilona?
P. Yeah.
A P, please. Okay. What P describes the walking up and down of a presenter, which can be
Facing.
really distracting? Oh, Jay, you're on it. What have you had for breakfast this morning?
Honestly, the Cheerios working now.
The Cheerios, that's what's done it. All right. Okay. And name 3 characteristics of a not so good presentation.
Oh, a not so good presentation.
Yeah.
It's boring, it's monotone, and maybe it's too detailed with numbers and stats and things.
unless you love that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. If it speaks to you, then fine.
That's it. Unless you do loads and loads of statistics, but they don't mean anything. You don't give them context. Yeah. Okay. Lovely. All right. So, which square would you like?
Take the M, please.
All right. So, what M describes the content of your presentation that you want to transfer to your audience?
Message.
Oh, is that Ilona? You got a little bit complacent there. You won the first round, and that's it. You just relaxed. You got into Sunday mode and relaxed now. Right. What was that one? What was that? There's an M. Okay. So here we go. Name something that people might be afraid of when presenting that might make them nervous.
Judgment of others.
Lovely.
Forgetting the content.
I'll do.
I don't know, stage fright, too much attention.
Brilliant. All of the above. Choose a square.
SS, please.
All right. What SS is another name for a small anecdote used to explain
Short
a concept.
story.
And what, sorry?
Short story.
Storytelling.
Yes, short story.
Oh, okay.
Name another kind of story you can use to help people understand the concepts that you're talking about.
Personal story.
Personal story, yeah, brilliant. Right, should we go BL next?
Yeah, yeah.
What BL describes the messages that you're giving? That
Body
are
language.
Here's give an example of a body language that would probably not be advisable during your presentation.
Okay, I would say you don't want to stare too long.
Crossing your
At
arms
the
across the
audience.
chest,
Or
crossing your arms across the chest. Very
Yeah,
defensive.
possibly. Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna go through body language today and what like the do's and don'ts that people talk about and what the truth is around all of those. So staring down. I love that one. You shouldn't stare at people when you're on stage.
you make the right eye contact, but overly staring too long can be a bit intimidating and
I just would never have thought
not so
that.
friendly.
You absolutely shouldn't stare at people. I love it. Okay, right. So let's do LP. What was there? It was home stretch now. Oh dear, LP. There we go. What LP describes the silence which you can use for dramatic
Long
effect?
pause.
Pause.
Good Lord. Good Lord. You won't know the answer to that one yet. All right. What do people say the reason is that people don't like pauses?
They feel uncomfortable.
Because
Pregnant pause. Pregnant pause.
Because they always feel longer than they feel longer to us than they do to the audience.
oh, yeah, that'll do. Great. All right. Last one, BS.
Yep.
What BR describes the process of writing down all your ideas for what
Brainstorming.
John, you came right at the 11th hour, John.
Although that time I got one right. Sounds big, Jay.
Nice work, John.
What ultimately should determine whether an idea or piece of content goes into your presentation or is dumped?
Whether it's relevant,
And what just determines whether it's relevant? It's what, John?
linked to your outcome.
Right. So remember, the only reason to put something into your presentation is because it's going to help your audience follow the call to action. Yeah. If it has no bearing on them achieving the call to action or being able to follow it, either because they know, think, feel, or do something that will allow them to follow the call to action, don't put it in. Yeah, perfect. All right. Well done. So just totting up my scores now with my imaginary calculator. The oranges have won by some margin. What is that margin? Let's have a look. For those of you that are sticklers for the rolls, that wasn't one. That one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 versus 3. It's not massive. 3, 5, 8, 5. Not bad.
So Jez, is it true that after lunch we're playing Going for Gold?
But don't tempt me. Do not tempt me, young man. I hadn't thought about going for gold.
Yeah, great teamwork, Team A, by the way.
Very good.
I found the theme tune.
Did you? What's the theme tune like?
Congratulations.
Oh, are you sharing it?
I thought I just played it.
Oh yeah, you have to share the computer sound.
Oh,
That wouldn't come up.
Oh,
Right.
never mind. I'll send it as a link.
Lovely. All right, so it is time to draw your attention to this formula in your manuals. Has everybody got the manual, or at least this formula? So let's start putting it together. So what we're going to do today is I just want to go through the formula so you've got a sense of like sort of beginning, middle and end of what this formula does. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start going back to the why section, because arguably the why section is probably the most compelling bit, where you're either going to win or lose people right from the start. Once you've got the why section, we're going to think, how can we make this better? So stories is what we're going to then look at. And you can use stories for the whole thing, or you can use stories to top and tail, or you can use stories in lots of different ways. So we're going to then look at storytelling and selling, like what's the core of selling something. So for those of you that are doing business development, this will also be fairly useful. And we're going to look at what your personal story is and start working on that, because you all have one, and I would love you to start honing it. So I'm going to give you a tool to be able to condense that personal story into a very kind of concise version of it, and then you can use that. You can obviously expand it, but at least you'll know how to make it concise. We're going to look at how to open a presentation and how importantly to close that presentation as well. We are going to, I think visual aids is something that I don't want to touch on too much. It's much easier to look at your visual aids and adjust them with you, or just to focus on you being the visual aid this time around. And then if you need, you're always welcome to send to me a slide deck, and I'll give you, or send me an example of a slide deck. Happy to throw back some feedback around how to make it kind of work for you. But if anybody's got any specific questions on visual aids today, just please say. And then we're going to move into the delivery and the confidence section. And to the delivery section is the fun bit. Obviously, you get to actually physically do something. Not the delivery of your presentation, but the body language and what to do and how to, what to do with your arms and how to extract some of that extraneous idiosyncratic movement that perhaps you don't realise that you're doing. So even the kind of most experienced presenters can get a little sway going, or they can get some affectation, a pacing. So we're going to strip all of it back and then put some intentional movement in there that's still authentic, and just have some fun with that. So nobody leaves here not knowing what to do with their arms. Like however old you are, you've never really had to think about what to do with your arms, and suddenly you stand in front of people and there they are, and you don't know necessarily where to put them or what they should be doing. And we will answer those questions today so that you're not in any doubt as to what they should be doing. And then we will look at how to get more gravitas. And finally, we are going to look at some vocal exercises. But again, we don't always need to do too much around the voice unless you have issues with the voice. Do you see what I mean? Like if the body language is in the right place and you're not nervous, most people are fine with the voice. If you know that you have a particularly quiet voice and you really struggle to project, that's probably going to be some limiting beliefs in there about being quiet. 1 second, I sneeze. So it's much more around expanding your comfort zone around how much the voice is connected with emotion. So if you're really good at expressing your emotions, the voice usually goes with it. If you're not brilliant at embodying your feelings and emotions, it's going to be much harder to get that vocal variance because they're so linked together. So usually if you get the body language right and you can be comfortable and you can be passionate about what you're saying, the voice will do as it's told. And so we just want to make sure we push some of those boundaries today, a little bit of your comfort zone, just so you can see, okay, where are the edges of my projection? Where are I used to teach self-defense many moons ago. I used to be a martial artist, and one of the things I used to do was teach self-defense. There was a really cool version of self-defense called Bash and Dash, which I thought was brilliant. And it didn't teach you all the silly locks and how to put people in headlocks and things. It literally just taught you how to, incapacitate and leave. One of the really surprising things that happened, having lots of it was predominantly for women, but not just for women, but having lots of women in a room, they had to shout, they had to make a start and then shout, get back. And I found it really surprising that so many of them could not shout, that they just never allowed themselves to yell and shout and scream. And so they would say, get back. And we're like, now go for it, really go for it. They couldn't. It was something really almost like they're just not allowed to project and shout and let that almost like it was aggression, I guess, that wasn't something that they were used to having in their bodies and holding. So one of the best things that I think that came out of those courses was being able to release that, the lion inside, and it came out in the voice, and that's how we knew that they were in the right state, because the voice followed. So I'm a big fan of working on your voice, but work from the body, not just from the larynx. All right, so we're gonna look at the voice. That leads us on to the silent scream, which you asked about yesterday, and then your writing the presentation and kind of practicing it with people in your group. All right, so a fun packed day. Any questions on what I've just said? We're going to cover everyone's in the right place. I want it to be some fun today. So let's have a look at this formula so we can start filling it in. Hopefully you can do the first bit. So my name is, start with that one. And I'm going to talk to you today about, now you can either go for a straight headline or a hook. So I'm going to talk to you today about, right, let's put your titles into the chat. Let's see those. I'm going to talk to you today about, now you don't have to start with what I'm going to talk to you about today. If you want to do it in a slightly more TEDxy way or a TED way, you can do it in a slightly different, more entertaining way. But for most presentations, you can start with, I'm going to talk to you today about, and then tell them what it's roughly about, just like a mini what we call it. Hope, amazing. Who would you be without the masks? I'm going to talk to you today about, so you could take that, Glenn, you could say, I'm going to talk to you today about masking and who you would be without the mask, right? So you could just go straight up and down. You could also chunk up from there and say, okay, so what's this honestly really about? What is the essence of this? Authenticity. You could say, I'm going to talk to you today about authenticity and what that means when you're neurodivergent. So you could chunk up to a more sort of headline.
Jess, mine isn't just specifically neurodivergent. It's all the different types of masks.
Brilliant.
Yeah. It's not just specifically neurodivergent in any stage or form.
Lovely. Okay. So you could talk today. So you could literally just say then, I'm going to talk to you today about the masks that we wear.
Yeah.
Or how to remove the masks that we wear. You don't have to stick with the title. You could just talk, I'm going to talk to you today about authenticity.
Yeah.
It's just give us a ballpark. Yeah. I'm going to talk to you today about how children are not the future. Right? Like whatever it is, it could be shocking, it could be anything. But just put a little bit of a ballpark in there to let us understand roughly where we are. In the hope that, or because I want to, and then put your call to action in there. Not the direct one, which might be, so book a discovery call with me, but the actual outcome for the audience. So in the hope that you fall in love with presenting and want to start sharing your message far and wide and increasing your business and your life experience. I want to talk to you today about, what else have we got? Great. I want to talk to you today about NLP in the hope that you will learn something that will help you live your life in the most spectacular way, or whatever it might be. The wonderful thing is only you know how it should be said, because you're the one with the message. So I can give you examples, but you'll know when it's right. Yeah. So state your call to action. The important bit about the call to action is now I know roughly what we're going to be talking about and what you want from me. If this is a corporate presentation, letting people know I work with companies where they literally have to go for a whole day of 10-minute presentations from all different departments. And it's barbaric. The idea that you have to listen to all these presentations. And so I said to them, one of the best things that you can do is structure and agree the format at the beginning, which is, I'm going to talk to you today about this specific thing, and what I want from you is, and then everyone sitting in that presentation knows this is for me, not for me, not for me. Or, okay, this is what you want, this is the one thing that you want from me, and this is the one decision I have to make as I listen, rather than, what of this am I supposed to remember? Am I supposed to do something afterwards? Well, I need to know that up front, otherwise I won't pay attention to the right things. Yeah. So this is the moonwalking bear. Do you remember the video of the moonwalking bear? Does everybody know the video of the moonwalking bear? Well, we need to verify that immediately. Let me find it for you, because we need to know about the moonwalking bear. Okay, let me share. I share the sound. Right, hopefully you can hear it. Let me know.
Is an awareness test. How many passes does the team in white make? The answer is 13. But did you see the moonwalking bear?
I deny it.
Yeah, everybody get that one? Yeah. So this for me is like asking somebody to watch your presentation, but you're not telling them what you want them to do while they are looking at it. Yeah, it's just makes sense. Otherwise, they're going to miss the information that they actually needed to be able to make the decision. So take your call to action, and then we need to go to the why section. this could be this is setting the scene either for the problem that they've got that you're going to solve, and either you can talk about that problem explicitly. So this department has been failing for years, and it's because of this low performance, blah, blah, blah. Or you could talk about a personal experience where the call to action, what you're proposing, solved it, and just demonstrate that. Yeah, one presentation was brilliant that I sat through, and this guy was in health and safety, and he was the guy sort of in charge of asking for the budget, right? So imagine that. And he just wanted this one tiny thing. They were in the construction industry, and he wanted this one tiny thing that on the surface didn't seem important. But he said, this, if something happens, it's going to cost so many millions of pounds that I think it was like 100 grand he needed. And they were like, no, you can't have it. And he was like, but if something happens, this is going to be catastrophic, and it's going to cost loads of money. So this is this is really important. So when he's going into the meeting, he's not saying, right, I'm here, in the hope that you'll give me £100,000 for this piece of equipment. He went in there and he told a story about another business that didn't make the right choice and went out of business because they couldn't afford, the legal fees and the damage to the brand and so on and so on. And that was much cleverer to tell a story that demonstrated his point, because it was a real story that had happened. And so then he comes in with his what. So what I'm asking for today is this, in the hope that we can do X, Y, and Z. This is how it's going to work. This is how we're going to implement it. And as a result, this is what's going to happen. And he got the money, like that's a no-brainer. But you can just see it, can't you? Going in there with your personal reasons doesn't often make the impact as much as going in there with a story where it already went wrong and they didn't listen. Because remember, if somebody's raised a flag in a business and said, this is a danger, this is a risk, and you haven't rectified it, and then something happens, that's really serious. That's way more serious. And he says, here I am, raising the flag now. I'm telling you, this is an accident waiting to happen. You can't ignore it now. And this is what happened to people that did. So just by putting the why in there, you can get really creative about how you do it. But often a personal story works brilliant as a speaker. If you're doing a training, and let's say I'm teaching an NLP technique, one of the things that you could say is, when you're sort of going about your life and you're in a really good mood, and suddenly something happens, like a driver cuts you up or something happens on your way to work, and suddenly your whole mood changed and it puts you in a real funk, and then you have to kind of try and get out of that funk yourself. And it could be eating you up all day just because of one thing that happened in the morning that triggered you into an unpleasant state. If I could give you a technique that could instantly turn that around in a minute or so and have you back in a great mood, would that be something you'd be interested in learning? Yeah. So that's your little sales pitch for whatever it is you're going to say. So that's your why section. A second, another sneeze, hold on. So the why section is so important, okay? So you're gonna do stories in a minute. That's when you're gonna think about your why. Okay, before we move on though, actually, oh wow. So you're looking at Saturday. I'll talk to you today about emergence of amputee football in northern Nigeria and increase adaptation. Love it. So I would make that more plain speak, because that sounds very formal, and people don't make formal decisions, they make emotional ones. So I would say, I want to talk to you today about the emergence of amputee football in northern Nigeria, and then some sort of, what do you want to have happen with it? So increase adaptation by whom, how many, you want to take over the the world with it? What's your outcome?
Thank you. If you look at amputee football as a case study, in the northern part of Nigeria, there is this high increase of amputations. There is this high increase of people falling into being a disabled, either by accident or by polio. So the emergence there is enormous compared to the other part of Nigeria.
wow.
So, and also looking at how we can tap into that advantage to now have more amputee football across the northern part of Nigeria.
Brilliant. Literally, as you were talking, have you got the story? Have you got your personal story of how it helped you?
Absolutely.
And if you were to tell that story of what your life was like before versus what your life was like once you had the football, yeah? Do you think that's a compelling story?
Sure.
I imagine it's an amazing story. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you can you tell me a story, either your story or somebody else's story that you know about especially in perhaps a region where they didn't have access and then they did. What was have you got some personal like an individual that you know about, if not yourself?
Like my personal story, I was born in northern part of Nigeria, Kaduna, and I love playing football while I was very young. And due to this football, I sustained injury that led to the amputation of my leg. So, and I discovered that I couldn't play football again with my other co-players, and I have to relocate back to the southern part of Nigeria where I further with my education. Now, I can see this dominance of people in the northern part of Nigeria loves playing football. And I can also see from the other side that, yes, there is a lot of people living with disability in the northern part. Now, how am I going to use that experiences I've gathered playing amputee football, transitioning from playing the normal football back to playing amputee football in the national team, and now going back to the northern part to spread the awareness of having more people to also involve in playing amputee football? Because I'm a case study of who has been someone that has been living with disability and also playing this football. And also looking at that space, the northern part, where we have this strong number of people with disability, like even through all these crises going on in the northern part that led to some losing their part of the body, how can we bring them back? How can we resuscitate them? How can we bring back hope to them? Because the highest number of disability is in the northern part. That's why I'm now looking at, okay, let's focus on the northern part. How am I going to use my story to impact them, to also tell them that there's the ability in disability?
Love it. Okay, so the passion and the mission is there. So what is it that you need and who are you talking to? So what is it that you need? So if you said, if you went to the northern region and you said to the actual amputees, would you like to play football? Do you think that they would say, oh my God, yes, if you could give me a way to play again, I would love it? Or do you think they would be resistant? Do you think they would be, oh, I don't think so? Do you think they would be keen?
Yeah, they will accept in the sense that I am a living testimony of this same scenario they have.
Yes.
Yeah, an amputee, I'm an amputee.
Great.
I've also been one, also played amputee football. So now using me as a case study, as an example, can motivate them so that they also can now see the importance of playing this game and bringing them back hopes again.
Okay. So my question is, so you are the expert, obviously, and you know all the details. So I'm just going to pull those details out of you. So my question is, if you walked into the northern region, you said, right, let's play amputee football, would there be the resources there to be able to play it, or are you going to have to speak to people who can help create resources?
Yes, that's where people will now come in. The stakeholders, the government, the philanthropists, the NGOs, the individual, and some other experts in other areas that will also join this mission of seeing how we can revive this hope in people living with disability. So it is something beyond what only I alone can do. It is something that involves everybody, even they themselves, so that we can all achieve the same set goal.
Lovely. All right, so your presentation is not about how great anti-football is and to convince people to play it. Your presentation needs to be about pulling people who have the resources to give you the resources to be able to implement it. And for that, there needs to be a bit of a plan that you want them to do. So you've got to be really specific about who you're speaking to and what you want them to do and what you want them to give. If you're going to do it, what they're going to give you, or if you want them to do something, what they need to do. And then the stories that you tell are about the lives that have been changed and therefore what they're contributing to, or the lives that have yet been changed, and by them being able to contribute, their lives will change like mine did. Yeah. So
Sure.
The why section is not just your story, because I'm sure your story is amazing, but your story about why it was so important that you had it, and had people not given you the resources, or you hadn't had the resources available, you wouldn't have been able to do it. Or telling a story of somebody that you've met who is in a region that doesn't have the resources yet, who doesn't have the name for the resources, the clubs. So
Okay.
not a football expert, as you can see, but it doesn't. They don't have the grounds. They don't have the investment there to be able. There's nowhere to play. There's no one doing it. So if you think about who you're speaking to, what you want them to do specifically, whether it's give you money or join you in a campaign or whatever it might be, you can tailor it to everybody who you're speaking to, and then you want. It's like you're the living proof of what it can achieve. So whether or not it's a good idea, not in any doubt, you're the living proof. What might have more sway is a real face to a unsolved problem, if that makes sense. So a girl or boy who is desperate to play but can't because there's no resources, but you could give those resources. You could help me to give those resources, yeah? And that's the compelling story. And the end result is your story. Yeah. It's as a result, we can create this together, and I want you to help me do that. That's the message, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm looking forward to the story. So if you want to, if it suits your presentation style, you then go into, so what am I going to talk to you about today? So I'm going to talk to you about amputee football in the hope that you join me on my campaign, or you contribute to my campaign where I'm helping young children and adults to fully live again, whatever the title is. I'm going to talk to you about 3 main aspects today. I'm going to talk to you about X, Y, and Z, and it could be things like the why, the what, the how, and the what if, or it could be I'm going to talk to you today about what we need, where we need it, and when we need it. Something simple like that. And then you do the rapport building. Some of you might have already heard of the football, or some of you might already know what it's like to, or some of you I've already spoken to about the campaign, so you already know, in which case I really hope that you support me in sharing this today. Some of you have no idea, in which case I hope you have a full grounding of it, and so on. And remember, you don't have to do all of these pieces, but this is where you would put them, and it's a really it's kind of a good habit to put them in. All of this becomes second nature, so that when you stand up to improv any kind of speech, networking event, someone says, "Oh, it's your turn," and you stand up and you just ask the questions in your head, and then the answers come out. So on this template, I've used the 3 points as the what, the how, and the what if. They don't have to be. So the what, the how, and the when, for example. So what do they need to know? So here's what you need to know. The other box is, once you've written down what it is, the information, then go back and say, right, how do I bring this to life? How do can I do a demonstration here? Do I need a prop? Do I need a video? Do I need something? Do I need audience interaction? Should I ask them a question? This is for me where you just get really amazingly creative. So that's the impact box. Your second point, how will it work? What's the process they need to follow? And then how do you bring that to life? If it's a training, you need to get them to do it. Like, that's an exercise, yeah, that has to be where they do it. And then finally, point 3, what if? What else could be done? So for example, Sarafuddin, you could say, your what if could be, once we've implemented the amputee football in the northern region, we want to take it. We want to take it everywhere. We can go anywhere with it. Once we've got a model that works, we want to take it worldwide. Something like that. And again, how do you bring that to life? You put a map on the on the projector and, like, you know, cover it in like metal, something like that. You know, you can bring it to life how you like. You go to the summary next. So summarize the points. You don't just say we've talked about, you know, the planning, we've talked about the structure, we've talked about the delivery. You need to kind of summarize, like put the takeaways in there. Yeah. So the actual takeaways. So I told you that I've talked today about what specifically I need from you, and that I need you to join my campaign by going here. I've talked to you about how it's going to work, and then again put the point that you've made. Be specific at that point, so sum it up. Predict some questions. It's always a really good rapport building exercise if you can predict the questions, so without them asking. So, you know, some of you might be thinking, you know, why football? Why not something else? Yeah, if we're going to put resources in, do we know football is the one that people want? Yeah. Could it be, you know, and that's where you could predict that and say, yes, it is. Yes, it is. You know, we know it's what they want. And then, are there any final questions? Now, why do we ask, are there any final questions before we give our conclusion?
In case someone has misunderstood and misinterpretation, they misheard something, just to clarify and confirm everyone's understanding the same message.
We've definitely, if there's a Q&A, they can ask questions. There's a really important reason that we say, are there any final questions? Lucinda, yeah?
Because it indicates that you're bringing the talk to an end.
Yeah. And this is where I think I promised you at one point that we are going to talk to you about getting a standing ovation. Okay, but you should at least get an ovation, even if not a standing one. You should get an ovation if you worked hard, you've done a good job. And one of the ways to orchestrate that is with your voice, in the way that you let everybody know that it's time to finish, that there's this big thing coming, and you're building the energy, and that there's something going to happen where there's an end point, a big reveal, some kind of last statement, and then it's time to applaud, right? You can start building that up. But if you do that and you say, so with this in mind, I hope that every time you eat shredded wheat, you remember, never eat shredded wheat on a Tuesday. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And everybody goes wild. And then someone goes, can I just ask? And it kind of ruins your flow. Yeah, you've had this great big crescendo. You've done it really well. You've pulled it home. You've got your conclusion. You've got your final close. People have started to clap and somebody asks a question. Don't let that happen, because you've worked really hard for that end point. So always say, are there any final questions before I conclude? Wait, right? On virtual, it's a bit easier. You can just say, put them in the chat, or I'll stay behind afterwards if anybody's got any burning questions. And then you finish with your call to action again. So I hope you'll join me on this quest to bring amputee football to the world. You could just say thank you then if you want to. Let's say thank you. Or you could then leave with something like a quote. So I just want to leave you with one final thought in the words of, and then you just leave a quote and then say thank you very much. Remember, people will remember the ending. So it's always worth being utterly clear what the call to action is right before the end, and some thought that they take with them, perhaps. Yeah. This is another reason why, if you're watching comedians, a lot of comedians won't say their names. And if they do, they say them at the end. And they say, I've been with good night. And they rush it. And then you're like, who was that? Who was that? I didn't get the name. And that's the bit right at the end where if they made a joke about their name, you'd never forget them. Or if they enunciated it, you would be on Google and looking for them. So I think it's really important how you finish. Yeah. Any questions about the templates? That look fairly straightforward now that we've gone through it a little bit. It's certainly comprehensive. Yeah. There are some practice ones of these that I curated. Pop it in the chat now.
Jess, can I just ask, are we expected to do this within 7 minutes? presentation. It's quite a lot what you've covered.
Right. So here's the 7 minute. In the chat, I put 7-minute or 5-minute presentations. It takes longer to go through the template than it does to actually do the talk, for sure. Yeah. So all I want you to do today is top and tail go through those motions of why, what, how, what, if. So even if you've got 500 ideas that you want to play with, just go through the motions today, scale it down a little bit. Don't make your story 7 minutes long, because I'm sure it's an amazing story. But the whole point is that we need to condense it so that we get the actual amazingness. Yeah, we don't need the whole thing necessarily in a 7 minute. We just need, so there I was at 2 a.m. Googling, right? And that's when I realised. And we'll look at stories in a minute. So we make the story fairly short. Your call to action is very short. What I'm going to talk about is ABC. And then, okay, what you need to know is this. How it works is this. What else we can do is this. And that's it. Yeah. So it's not as long when you actually come to talking through it. Does that answer your question, Wendy?
I think so.
I will. I will go through when you're writing it. I'll go through the groups and I'll happily provide assistance if you're not sure. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
That's why it really helps to have somebody kind of pull it out of you. So that's why I say doing the exercises is really important, rather than just sort of listening to the information, because it can just be too much to have in your own head.
Yeah, because I'll tell you what it is. It's just that I'm a bit, we covered Tell yesterday.
Yes.
I can't quite see how that fits into what you've been talking about today.
So tell is not a technique or in and of itself. It's why it's to remind you why it's important to tell people what you want from them up front, then tell them what you want, then remind them at the end. And that's included in the template, so you don't have to think about it. Yeah. So it's what I'm going to talk to you today is going to tell you this, I'm going to tell you this, and I'll tell you this. Here I go telling you it. What did I talk about today? Well, I told you this, I told you this, and I told you this. It's all in the template already.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, we could do it now then.
You could be doing it today. It's not right now. We're going to be doing the story bit now. We're going to go through it slowly and curate it.
Okay, so I can see people writing, so I was just wondering.
Oh, I'm sure that they kind of, take the pressure off yourself, because Wendy, I can feel the pressure you put on yourself. Yeah.
I mean, I have. I go to pitching events, etc. I've done that, but how you're putting it across, it's more involved than what I'm used to. So this is all very new to me. You're giving it structure that I've not come across before.
Right. And if it requires you to just go through the simple formula first, just to get the why, what, how, what, if you've been doing it a certain way for a long time, oh my God, it's so hard to do it in a slightly different way. So please take the pressure off yourself and just think of it as, I'll try it this way. I'll see. Don't take a presentation that you've kind of written already and try and make it fit. You can put it into AI. You could ask AI to try and do it for you. By all means, if that helps. But it's probably easier to go through the process from scratch almost and try and reconstruct it from scratch, if that makes sense.
I've gotten used to the way I
know.
So it's like turning my head around and listen, trying to do it from scratch. It's easier said than done, I think.
Oh, completely. Yeah. So, and listen, Wendy, this is something I've been doing for so long. And when you go somewhere and people are kind of like, that's not how I do it, it's like, I know. And it's fine. If what you've been doing works for you, then only take the things that you think you want to add to the way that you're already doing it. Yeah? By all means, think, actually, yeah, I'll probably add that call to action thing at the beginning, because that's quite useful, isn't it? You can just, like a buffet, pick and choose. The whole idea is not to stress you out with loads of stuff to think about. It's to give you a comprehensive way of doing something that we know will work. But if it doesn't work for you, don't use it. Like, there's no pressure. And you can, all I would say is try the format model, because honestly, that is the game changer, I think, for most presentations. when we do the exercise, I'll come around and make sure that I help you and just see if we can. It might be easier than you think. Yeah, have you got it written down anywhere, Lindy? Your talk, or what you have been used to doing?
Well, I'm intuitive. I just tell my story. It's like a beginning, middle, and end.
Yes,
It's my
that's it.
structure.
That's it. And it might be that just listening to the story, there are things in there that could be tweaked as opposed to completely restructured. Yeah. If it's effective as it is now, leave it and create a different presentation so that you can practice from scratch doing something different, something new. And leave your existing one alone for now until you've learned the new process. And then if you like the new process and you want to stick with it, then you can work from there. But just try and have fun with it. When it's supposed to just be fun. Don't stress it.
May I
Yeah.
suggest also, sorry, may I suggest also that there are probably other people, Wendy, who've got sort of similar sort of things, because when you're doing something that's different from what you know already, it can be intimidating, but you're the one who's brave enough to say something. So, you know, don't worry.
Yeah, honestly, this is why we create something during the course, right? So that we could go, right, let's start from scratch, go through it, get your personal story. It's not supposed to be polished. Often what it looks, the receivers, sorry, when you go through and watch other people do it, you'll realise how bloody good the template is. It's only when you actually sit in the presentations that you go, oh wow, that really works. And you'll see somebody who didn't do all of the elements and you'll think, oh wow, yeah, that could have really benefited from that. So this is why I teach it, because I know that over the long term, this will help you write something from scratch in a very short amount of time, hit all the points that you need to make it effective. The hardest thing is when you've got something already curated, already, you know, in the muscle, and like any tennis player who wants to sort of up their game, the coach they get often strips everything right back, and it's really frustrating for a really long time because you can't play the way you used to. And yeah, so all I say is just hold on, and we'll wait for the bit where we kind of putting everything together, and you might be pleasantly surprised. Right, Nels and then Lucinda. Oh, Nels had a question. Sorry, Lucinda, hold on. Two quick ones, because I want to get through
Yeah, sure. Could you just put the very last slide of the template, the last bit, which it started, are there any final questions? Just that bit. Can you just put that up again, please?
Yeah.
And the crackling sound, I hope it's not from me. I've switched all my Bluetooth audio devices. Just because it just hurts my ears. I've got a problem from after COVID, and sorry I came off camera. I didn't want to grimace on screen. Thank you.
Yeah, you got it. It's in the workbook anyway. It's right, just right at the end of the workbook. So I'm just going to introduce this, and then we'll have a break.
Lucinda's waiting to talk.
Oh, sorry, Lucinda. You're so quiet there. Go for it. What were you going to say, my love?
I just, too many words, my brain gets confused. What the 7-minute presentation that we're putting together today is a short version of all these 4 pages. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And if you miss bits out, nobody's going to get in trouble. So if you forget to do it, or if you haven't got time and you miss out for some of you, that's fine. It's just there to practice with.
No, I get that. It was just fitting everything in, and I'm going, oh well, this takes more time than that, and so it's just a question of will it all fit into 7 minutes? You know,
is yours a mini training, or is it a speech?
I don't know really. I suppose a mini training, yeah.
Yeah, so a mini training is going to be really difficult in 7 minutes.
But mostly with a call to action. So a sort of sales pitch of who or why, and this is something to teach you. Thank you, and if you'd like to learn more, come and do a.
Right. If it's 7 minutes, mini training is going to be tricky to do, to actually have any sort of interaction and how to do it, unless it was something like a visualization, like I want you to imagine this. Sometimes we can get to if it's a sales pitch for something, you can get there because you just need the reason to buy or to do the follow-on thing. to be felt in the body. So you don't always need the proof of the technique. You just need, for example, you could talk about the people that you've helped and how their lives changed. That's going to make me identify with them and want what they've got. And then you just show me the way. You don't always have to do the techniques if we're just doing that. Yeah. I can have a look when you're working on it.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, so let's give this in so you've got something to think about over the break. So whenever we're selling anything, we need to think about what people actually want. So do we want fast cars? Do we want big houses? Do we want lots of money? Or do we want what those things are actually going to give us? And which do we want more? The feeling that they're going to give us, or the avoidance of the feeling that we have without them? So, for example, if somebody buys a really expensive car, the car is the conduit, if you will, to maybe feeling really good about yourself. Like, gosh, this car makes me feel so successful because I've worked really, really hard and I deserve this car. When I drive it, it makes me feel like the person that I want to be, and it makes me feel good about me. So that's an emotional need. What were they feeling before? So let's say they were driving a car that was old and not very functional. It wasn't perhaps always reliable. And when they drove that car, they felt, turning up at events and things like that, they felt like, oh, this doesn't really represent who I am or who I think of myself as. And so I feel a little bit incongruent. I don't feel great about myself in this car. Yeah. No, I'm not a car salesman. Obviously, I don't think that cars are, should be a status symbol. But let's imagine that that's how somebody feels. What they're trying to do is avoid that feeling or solve that problem of, I don't feel good about myself. This car is the reason I don't feel good about myself, and therefore I need a better car to feel better about myself. Does that make sense? So that's why when people buy products, that if it's for an identity, if it's for significance, it could be, this car makes me feel afraid because it is unreliable. I don't know if I'm even going to get to my destination because it's just going to break down. So the feeling that I get is one of uncertainty, and I would really like to be able to drive a car where I just felt safe and certain. Yeah, so the car is then the conduit to the feeling of safety and certainty. Make sense? Yeah. It could be, and this, I remember Nick saying this once about why he wanted to get a car. And he said, I want something that's like a four-wheel drive that, this was years ago before we got one. He said, I want a 4x4 that works in the snow, because when you live in a village and there's people that can't get to the shops, they can't get out in the terrible weather, I want to have a really fantastic 4x4 car so I can pull people's cars out of the ditches, and I can be the one that goes round to the shops and gets them all groceries and food, because it makes me so happy to know that I could do that for people, that I could provide that when people need something. And the feeling he's avoiding is that feeling of helplessness, of not being able to help people when he wants to be able to help them. He doesn't have the equipment or whatever to help people. So that's helplessness to kind of certainty. So all kinds of reasons, but they all tend to follow this same rule of thumb about our emotional needs. So we're hitting 3 boxes when we're trying to motivate somebody to do something. And obviously I'm talking about cars here, but if so everybody's talking about, join me on my campaign, people will join you on the campaign because it will give them a feeling that feels better than the one that they feel for not joining you. Yeah. So by helping people to notice, well, how do I feel not doing that? How am I going to feel when I do it? I'm in. So Lucinda, with let's say instead of a mini training, if it's a pitch for your business, these are the questions. I will follow up with you. So you don't have to sell. And I recommend just sell the next step. So sell a call, sell a workshop, sell something really bite-sized. It's so much easier than trying to sell the whole thing. Sell a relationship with you. Yeah, in that kind of way. Sell something that is a small, easy, no-brainer. and allow them to feel. That's the job, right? Is where are you now, where you might not feel as much connection, significance, and certainty as you like. Here's what I'm talking about, offering you. Here's what I'd like you to do. And here's how it's going to give you more love and connection, more significance, and more certainty. That is ultimately what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
And every single product, service, anything that you do is because it's going to take you away from pain towards pleasure. Some of the ways that you can do that in your talk is to tell a story that describes a situation that makes the listener feel or empathize with the disconnection, the insignificance, and the helplessness. And then you tell them about the solution, the call to action,
Yeah.
and how it created love and connection, significance, and certainty. If you listen to any pitch Tony Robbins does, and love him or hate him, he's been around a while and he sells a lot of stuff. So if you listen to anything he talks about, he will mention certainty or love and connection, significance, and certainty in every pitch that he does. And he'll do it really subtly because he'll tell a story, but ultimately that's what he's talking about. He's helping you get away from those feelings towards the feelings that you want. Yeah. This is why we don't talk about features of products, we talk about benefits of products. And now more than ever, we sell the problem, not the solution. And what we mean by that is just relate to people through the pain that they're experiencing so that they understand that we see them, or that we understand what they're going through, and that helps them to then relate to the solution we're offering. Okay. So this is the exercise that we're going to do after the break. So I want you to think about it now, so that when we come back from the break, you can get into groups. Probably pairs is fine, I think, for this, because you want to interview each other. So with Serafadine, for example, what's the problem that people are experiencing that you want to help with? What's the call to action that solves the problem? And what's the story that demonstrates how the call to action solves the problem? Yeah. So what's the problem? What's this context? What's this starting situation that you want to solve? Yeah. It could be, thousands of individuals all over the northern region experience disconnection, and helplessness unnecessarily in their everyday life. But with your help, I want to bring hope and joy to thousands of people all over the country. So what's the problem? And then you start describing the problem, and this is what I plan to do, and this is what the vision is at the end of it. Or it could be your personal story. So back in the day, this is what I was experiencing, and then this amazing solution came along, and now look at me. Yeah. So you can tell your personal story, but it's the call to action that we're looking for. That we're selling. Get an extra hour a night of sleep, and this is all the benefits that you're going to get. Only works if you tell them how they're suffering for losing that hour of sleep. So what's the problem? What is the solution or call to action? And how has that benefited people or you, if it's your personal story? All right. We'll work it out after the break.